Rob J gave me an incredibly generous 1 year's worth of subscriptions on Patreon and brings you today's video. Saruman the White Hand versus Aragorn, Legolas and Sefris. Just a one-lander. If we had one more land that might be tempting, but no good, we'll have to mulligan. Okay, into nothing but mana. So that's a pretty easy mulligan as well. Okay, this is looking better. We'll have to go down a card though. Fall of Caer Andros is probably alright to get rid of here, I think. And we'll try and ramp out in the early game. Alright, we're first and we draw into a Scalding Tarn, so we can use that to get ourselves into the Tricycle land. Legolas getting into a Basilisk Collar for Death Touch and Lifelink. That'll be a problem when the fight begins. And with that, it's round to our turn 2. Another land for us. I mean, we'll struggle on lands in Grixis, but yeah, we want to be ramping really and doing some other things. So, Arcane Signet, and might just have to go for our commander next turn. First spell from Sefris is a Ghostly Pilferer, and a Hardened Scales for Legolas to get some more plus counters. Aragorn copying us, getting down an Arcane Signet as well. And we draw into Dreadhorde Invasion, which will obviously put more plus counters on our army. So, speaking of armies, let's get Saruman down and start making army tokens. Or an army token. Just need to hope that none of our opponents have removal for it. An Ancient Tomb for the Esper player. And that's a rough one. White Plume Adventurer. So when it enters the battlefield, you take the initiative, and you untap all creatures you control at each upkeep if you've completed a dungeon, which they will in no time in this deck. So with the initiative, they've ventured into the Undercity, and then quickly I just saw that they went for Ephemerate onto their initiative enabler, so now on level 2 with the Undercity, they've gone for the secret entrance, search for a basic, put it into hand, and now Lost Well is Scry 2. A Findhorn Elves for the green player, and Solemn Simulacrum, gonna fix the colours of the Aragorn. Okay, so we get into yet another land, and I don't think we're going to be connecting with the Wand of Orcus, so let's go for the enchantment. That will make us a 2/2 army, and obviously get buffed every turn by the invasion. And then we'll shock down the steam vents to fix our blue mana a bit better. And why don't we just get down the wand, ready to equip next turn. I like to play and equip those straight away preferably, but I don't think we're going to get damage through anyway. So at the beginning of the turn, the Sefris player going to rebound the initiative to bounce the White Plume Adventurer. So they've got 2 triggers of the initiative on the stack, one from the upkeep that they'll always get, and then one from the ETB. So making a treasure from stash, and they go through to the Catacombs as well, which will make a 4/1 Black Skeleton token with Menace. And just like that, they're only 1 room away from completing a dungeon. So in comes Sefris of the Hidden Ways, and that's obviously going to make it difficult to remove their stuff. Legolas being cast, and it's not being cast from hand, so the Ghostly Pilferer will draw. And then immediately using a Tail Swipe, so that's an instant, but it's being cast during the main phase, so it's a +1 buff, and Legolas is going to fight the Sefris. So in response to that, the Seasoned Pilferer going to discard a card, which will trigger the Sefris and complete the dungeon here. So Throne of the Dead 3, they're going to reveal the top 10 cards of their library and put a creature from amongst them onto the battlefield with 3 plus counters on it. And with that they went for Nadar, Selfless Paladin. So when that enters the battlefield, they will venture into a dungeon yet again. And they've gone into the Lost Mines of Phandelver now, so they scry 1. Sefris saw the previous dungeon completed, so it reanimates the Seasoned Dungeoneer that they just discarded to the Spirit. And with that they gain the initiative, so progress through to the next room in the mine. And that just makes a treasure token. And then with Legolas's other trigger, he is targeting the blue spirit with that as well, so it looks like that is going to resolve, taking down the Pilferer. And the tail swipe does successfully take down the Sefris. There's still a dungeon completed and they're halfway through another one though. Sefris is ridiculous. Alright, so now through to Aragorn's turn, and down comes Aragorn. Going to make himself the monarch. And then just going straight through to the end step, holding back the solemn, and draws a card from the monarchy. White Plume Adventurer going to trigger during every upkeep and untap all the creatures. All the creatures on their side anyway. Dreadhorde Invasion sees an army, so just throws a plus counter on it. Alright, and there we see a fight card in Kazul's Fury, so if our army gets big enough we could take someone out with that. I think we're just aiming for some zombie tokens here though, so let's equip the Wand of Orcus. And we'll go straight down the middle towards Legolas, because I don't think they're going to be throwing their Legolas away anytime soon. So Death Touch on the Orc army, and Dreadhorde Invasion triggering in a way that I don't normally see, because we don't normally play with armies. I usually use this as a zombie Bitter Blossom, but we have a power 6 or greater creature, so it is going to gain lifelink when it attacks. So that's Ward 2, lifelink and Death Touch. And as we assumed, it does land, so the Wand of Orcus going to make us a decent number of zombie tokens here. And now I think we can just sit back on our zombie horde and hold up that Arcane Denial. Hopefully we can do something against Sefris. They take the initiative at the beginning of their turn, and this time going into a Fungi Cavern, so a target creature gets -4 to its power until the end of the turn. They're going after Aragorn with that. Okay, and now a Karmic Guide can reanimate something. And they have left their Sefris in the bin, so no prizes for guessing what they're going to reanimate here. And then there is an Anthem effect on all these creatures thanks to their dragon, so going into the red zone with the skeleton and the dragon itself. The Seasoned Dungeoneer attacking and triggering as well. So that will trigger on one of the D&D creature types, protection from creatures, and it explores as well. And with that, they've completed the Lost Mine of Phandelver, so they draw a card, and Sefris once again sees a dungeon completed, bringing back the Pilferer. And there's no plus counters on this thing, so I'm guessing they saw a land on top of their library. Anyway, no blocks being made there, and they do take the monarchy away from Aragorn. And then it looks like Ghostly Pilferer is triggering the Sefris once again by discarding a creature. So it's back into the Mines of Phandelver to scry 1. And finally we get round to the Legolas's turn again. Basilisk Collar going on to the Legolas to give it lifelink and Death Touch. And then we see a Smell Fear, so Proliferate will put another plus counter on the commander, and it's going to fight the Nadar. So they've got fewer means of venturing into dungeons. Also with the Legolas trigger they double up on fights, so getting rid of the Sefris as well. And they will gain life to this thanks to the Basilisk Collar. So our opponent went for the triggers correctly, letting Legolas deal with Sefris before it sees Nadar die. Sefris triggering on itself though, goes into the command zone, and they venture into a dungeon again. So it is the Mine Tunnels making a treasure token. And down goes Nadar, no additional triggers from that. So now it's time to see if Aragorn can do anything. Alright, that's some removal in the form of a Palace Jailer. They'll take the monarchy back with that as well. So going to exile the Menace token is what they're worried about, because they want to keep the monarchy, I'm guessing. There is a flyer over there, but they'd have to pay the echo cost on it. Alright, and throwing down an Ornithopter anyway. So we'll crack the Bloodstained Mire, turn it into a tap land. And once again, our enchantment makes the Orc army bigger. Just another land for us, annoyingly. We're going to have to Arcane Denial something just for the card draw, I think. Alright, so we'll take the Orc army in at the left against the dungeon player. And the zombies can try and go wide against this Aragorn player, because we want the monarchy. We need to draw as many cards as possible while we're in such dire straits here. It's a shame, because I would like to be going in at Sefris, really. So, Wand of Orcus triggers. They throw the Karmic Guide in the way. Oh, of course, that has pro-black, doesn't it? Completely forgot about that. Aragorn going to trade us a zombie for a Solemn Simulacrum, so they draw from that. We will draw from the monarchy at the end of the turn. And the Monarch just draws us into more mana in the form of a talisman. Well, we're not drawing into it next turn at least. Alright, so the Karmic Guide Echo cost on the stack, the initiative on the stack as well. They let the Karmic Guide go. They can debuff a creature's power by 4 again. And again, it goes on the Aragorn. Sefris into play once again. So that is a decent target to Arcane Denial, I think. Especially when they're so close to completing a dungeon again. So Saruman triggers, putting a couple of plus counters on our now 9/9 army. But they've got an offer you can't refuse. So unfortunately, we trade out our Arcane Denial for a couple of treasures. Could have done with that card draw. But at least the Sefris player isn't drawing additional cards here either. Okay, so now casting a Buried Alive once the Sefris has hit play. And entombing into the bin a Glasspool Mimic, Spark Double and Phantasmal Image, so just a bunch of clone effects basically. Sefris sees creatures hit the bin, so like I said, they are going to complete another dungeon here. And heading into the Temple of Dumathoin, we'll just draw them a card. But what we're really worried about is that triggers Sefris. They are pointed at the Karmic Guide for that. Karmic Guide enters and reanimates a clone effect in the form of Glasspool Mimic. Guess what that's going to enter as? It enters as a Karmic Guide. Karmic Guide targets the Phantasmal Image, which enters as another Karmic Guide, targeting the Spark Double. And the Spark Double not coming down as a Sefris at least, it comes down as another Karmic Guide. And that one will reanimate the Nadar again. So Nadar entering ventures them into a dungeon. And they're going for the Lost Mine of Phandelver again, so at Scry 1. Ghostly Pilferer discarding a card, but clearly wasn't a creature because the Sefris didn't trigger. So just turning a couple of creatures into the red zone. The Dungeoneer and the Spirit. The Dungeoneer goes in at Legolas, the Pilferer heads in towards Aragorn to get the Monarchy. And now we'll see if Legolas has any more fight left in him. That is a charge through, going to give Legolas trample and draw a card. So the commander now has 8 plus counters on it. And then it's a bite card in this instance, Cosmic Hunger. Going to target the Nadar again. Still have Death Touch over there. And alright, looks as though they're targeting our Orc army. Forgetting about the Ward 2 on there, apparently. So, yeah, could have got rid of another creature from the Sefris side of the board. I'm not sure why they're targeting our army. I attacked them once for the zombie tokens to hold back blockers, but we've left them alone since then. So yeah, it's a shame to lose out on a fight there on the Sefris player. Anyway, Sefris sees a creature die, so we'll venture into another room in the dungeon, just making another treasure this time. And then Legolas an 11/14 with reach, Death Touch, Lifelink and Trample this turn goes in at the Esper player. And Sefris deciding to take 11 points of commander damage. So that means Legolas is now going to take the initiative. And they will be able to search their library for a basic land, which they have been struggling on all game. They're on 3 lands by turn 6. Now it's over to Aragorn's turn and we see another Phantasmal Image. So that comes down as a copy of the Palace Jailer. We'll take the Monarchy again, and it looks like it's going to exile the Sefris. So Ghostly Pilferer activating again, which triggers the Sefris. And they go into the penultimate room, debuffing the Aragorn again. Sefris successfully exiled though, and after that down comes a Death Greeter's Champion. And that has been dashed, so it will have haste. And it has backup. The backup targets the original Palace Jailer, so giving that double strike. So all 3 attacks, including the Aragorn with its -4 power, swings in at the Sefris player, which triggers the Aragorn. And they are the Monarch here, of course, so they can't have their creatures blocked now. So Sefris gone down to 12. We might be able to beat him yet. In fact, as soon as we play that Kazul's Fury, we'll be able to beat him with that, won't we? Because that'll put 3 plus counters alone. Anyway, drawing a card to the Monarch, and the Death Greeter's Champion will be bounced back to hand. Okay, and we finally get into a means of card draw, albeit a very slow means of card draw in the black market connections. So I'll throw down the Talisman of Dominance. Actually, should have just gone for the Kazol's Fury, shouldn't we? Because we're missing out on power and toughness there. Oh well. Might as well try my luck and swing in with the Orc army. Go in towards Aragorn with that and try and take the monarchy, as well as make some zombies. In fact, we'll just go wide and definitely take the monarchy away from our opponent. So we'll get more lifelink from the Dreadhorde invasion. The Wand of Orcus gonna give all of our stuff Death Touch. And unfortunately the token Palace Jailer going to jump in the way of the Orc army. Still gain the life but won't make any more tokens. And we do take the monarchy away. Didn't notice actually the Sefris was actually in exile. So they must have had a means of targeting that phantasmal image. So Sefris has entered play again, but doesn't matter, we're planning on getting rid of him this turn anyway. So cast the Kazol's Fury targeting our Orc army. That will put 3 more plus counters on it, hence the reason I shouldn't have gone for the Talisman. And we get to throw that big Orc army straight at Sefris's face before he gets another crazy turn. And there we go, managing to take him down, excellent. So the most powerful deck in the game has gone down there. So we just end our turn with a black market connection. Should have played a Talisman into this as well so that we'd have a 5 power Orc army, but I'm not sure it's really going to make all that much of a difference. We're the Monarch still, so drawing to a Stormkiln Artist at the end of the turn. Legolas has the initiative, so we'll trigger the dungeon at the beginning of his turn and decides to venture into a room that just so happens to put 2 plus counters on his commander. Why not? Now seeing a Solidarity of Heroes, just putting a plus counter, or 2 plus counters thanks to the hardened scales, onto Legolas. So commander damage is a definite threat now, a 32-35 commander with Death Touch and Lifelink and Reach. Hopefully don't see trample here. And Legolas swings in towards us, so we just have to chump without the trample. We do manage to survive here. The green player jumping up to 89 life though. Now seeing the Death Greeter's champion enter play again, and giving double strike to the Palace Jailer once more. Alright, that's a pretty good one, a Karlach, so they're going to get an additional combat phase here, should probably be able to take the monarchy away from us. Unfortunately it looks like Aragorn's bugged and it has its debuff still on its power, so it won't be able to deal damage to us, unfortunately. Aragorn does still trigger along with the additional combat from Karlach though. So our commander can't block here, thanks to Aragorn. Going to trade them the Orc army for the dash creature that keeps enabling double strike. And then they swing in with the Aragorn again, keeping our zombie from blocking. They can't target a Ward 2 creature, of course. So now the question is, do we want to throw away our Orc army to the Exemplar? Yeah, I think we want to keep our big army in play. The lifelink is relevant from the enchantment. So we'll let them damage us here and take the monarchy away. So there we are, they are the Monarch and they draw again at the end of the turn. Down to 15 life over there though. So we might be able to use our army to do something to them. Draw into the Mithril Coat to give Indestructible to a commander. And then Black Market Connections. We've got a surplus of life, so we'll just choose all the abilities here. Alright, and that draws us into a Mizzix's Mastery, which could have us fling a big army again. So let's just throw down the Stormkiln Artist if we're going to be casting instants and sorceries. The Wand of Orcus can go back on the army token, and we'll just have to hope that we get another turn round the table here. Alright, the green player throwing out a Disenchanter's Deliverance in response to the equip of the wand. So that destroys an artifact. So wasting 3 mana there. Still have mana for the Mithril Coat at least. So let's swing everything into the right against the Monarchy player. We're definitely making use of the Monarch this game. Haven't done too well on card draw. Alright, and throwing Aragorn in the way, so hopefully that'll fix it. When they recast it again, it'll have 4 power again. And we do knock them down to 9. We go up to 39. And with the Monarch, we draw into, alright, a Dig Through Time. That's a good one. The initiative taken again by Legolas at the beginning of the turn. So deciding to have a target player lose 5 life, they target us with that one. So must fancy his odds of getting rid of Aragorn sometime soon. And after that it is a pure imaginative rascal. I think they've got enough plus counters on their Legolas, but apparently not. 2 cards left in hand, allowing us to search up a Toothy. I mean, we're in those colours, so might not be the best idea to try your luck there. Luckily for them, we don't have a Toothy in the deck. And then swinging in at us, again with the Legolas, and again with no trample, so we'll throw our Changeling in the way. And they go up to 121 life. A Fabricate for the Jeskai player searches up an artifact. Alright, and there's a Sword of Hearth and Home, so not only ramp, but they'll be able to flicker the Palace Jailer. Putting it on the Karlach, so 2 combats here. Luckily we got rid of the double strike enabler. Karlach swinging in alone towards us. So we'll go for the Mithril Coat in response, and we can just chump block with our commander all day. Because now that it has the Mithril Coat equipped, we have Indestructible on our commander. And then I'll double block with both of my untapped creatures in an attempt to get rid of this Karlach. Oh, and whoops, totally forgot that that Karlach ability gives first strike. So it threw away the dwarf for nothing there. Alright, so now on the second combat they can go wide on us. We'll just throw the Saruman in the way of the sword again. And they'll hit us with the Jailer, making them the Monarch again. Alright, so in response to them drawing a card, just in case they get into some kind of counter magic or something, we'll go for the Dig Through Time for 2 mana. We've only got 2 mana available, so we'll have to get rid of our entire graveyard, which makes the Mizzix's Mastery not quite as good. A little bit of a nombo, but it does make our Orc army really big. Alright, and we see with that a Reaver Cleaver, which enables trample on a big Orc army. That's good. Seagate Restoration is a decent card draw if you've already got cards in hand, so we'll just try that. And we draw into a Myriad Landscape. We'll get more card advantage from the Black Market connections. Takes us down to 23. Alright, excellent. And there's an Expropriate from the enchantment. So I'll throw down a Reaver Cleaver. We'll buff our army up even more, and now we're going to make use of it, I think. No one can afford the ward cost on anything. Equip the Cleaver. We'll turn in sideways towards the Jeskai player. And our army will gain lifelink, and it does have trample thanks to the Cleaver. It's about to gain us a lot of mana from the treasure tokens. Alright, and we successfully hit our opponent and knock him out of the game, down to -14, so the Orc army Reaver Cleaver trigger goes on the stack. And there we are, we get 24 treasure tokens, awesome. So now, before anything else, we want to go for Seagate Restoration. We'll draw 3 cards because we've got 3 cards in hand. Plus an additional one. So we obviously want to do that before we play any more spells. Alright, awesome, and that gets us into Cyclonic Rift. I think we just go for Expropriate here. Don't see what our opponent can really do about this. I'll get down the Harmonic Prodigy first, just to double up the triggers on our army, just in case it's relevant. And after that it is Expropriate. Not as good without the 2 other players, but still a really powerful card. So Prowess triggers on the Prodigy, the Saruman triggers twice, so makes an absolutely massive army. That's a 48/48 with lifelink, trample and ward 2. We vote for time on Expropriate to give us an extra turn, and we'll steal away the Legolas because our opponent did not give us an extra turn. Our opponent's between a rock and a hard place there really. We've got trample, so can likely deal with our opponent in the next few turns, but they decide to allow us the Legolas. So we'll move the Reaver Cleaver over to the Legolas, and we should be able to use that to deal commander damage to our opponent. We're still the Monarch from the previous turn, so we draw into an island and another land, which is pretty fitting for this game. The Black Market connections gets us into, alright, a Mask of Grizzlebrand. That's really good. Don't think we need it here though. Nothing that a couple of green mana's gonna do, I don't think. So we'll turn everything in sideways at our opponent and try and deal commander damage to him with his own Legolas. Alright, and there we go, 33 commander damage and down to 28 life. And we end up at 120 life with all our lifelink. So yeah, managing to take him out with his own Legolas there, and yeah, it wasn't the most convincing game, but Saruman the White Hand did some decent work for us, making those army tokens and buffing them up throughout the game. Hopefully you all enjoyed this one. I think it was a nice, fun, interactive game, and one that we didn't look like we were going to win, but just proves yet again why you don't give up so easily. A big thank you to the few of you who are patrons of the channel. I probably wouldn't be here without you. I'm Tribalkai. Thank you for watching.